what are the things that we inspect with windows? Water intrusion issues is probably number one, but then also we'll have fogging, like you see there in the bottom right. Heat-related issues, we'll just briefly touch on that. We don't have, I got a whole presentation on that kind of stuff, so if you're interested, let me know. And then hail is also a key consideration in inspecting windows, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the key issues for windows is when inspecting windows for potential concerns, it's critical to focus on some key areas. The top, we're going to begin by looking at the top of the windows. This is where the head flashing interfaces with the siding and with the underlying WRB, if they're the WRB that's there, and it's the main function at the top of the windows is hopefully the water is getting pushed away from the top of the windows. We'll look at the sides and the jambs. We'll also look at the bottoms, the sill. Is it properly sloped? Is there proper seal flashing there? Do we have weep holes if it's a brick system? Is there any way for water to accumulate in these areas? And then we'll look at the glazing itself. This is where we'll talk about fogging concerns. Look at the bottom corners. Water can get in at these locations as well. So let's look at the windows. Just a brief understanding of these. Let me pull this up. Windows are basically have two primary components: the frames and the glazing. If we're speaking from a 30,000 foot level, and they each play a critical role. The frame provides the structural support and can be made of various materials. You know, wood is good for insulation, but they require maintenance to prevent rot, as you can imagine. And so to address that, metal wrapped wood cords kind of get the best of both worlds. You got strength and durability from the metal, but then you also get the insulating properties of the wood. And then vinyl frames are really low maintenance and very cost friendly, and they provide decent insulation and weather resistance. And then we have the glazing systems, which is just the glass itself. It's nowadays it's generally always insulated for energy efficiency, and I'll talk you through that really fast. Double and triple panes. So these are the basic components of a window system. So if we look at the top of the windows, long-term water intrusion typically, like I said, manifests at the tops and the bottoms of the windows. However, a visual inspection in which we can't do any destructive testing, there's only so much we can see. So what do we look for? We're going to look for discoloration and staining here. If it's not functioning properly, you're going to start to see discoloration that'll manifest. Rust stains. The discoloration will often come from rust stains on fasteners that are streaking away, or water getting, interfacing with materials it should not interface with. Look at the condition of caulking and sealing. Sometimes too much caulking indicates somebody was overly ambitious during construction and they've sealed up some of the weep holes that should still be there. But sometimes depending on the details, you legitimately need caulking. Has it been properly maintained? Is there any warping or buckling to the cladding systems, or mold or mildew growth, or soft or rotted materials? We're going to look at all these things. We're also, like I said, we're going to look for weep holes. Any water that gets behind that cladding system, how is that water going to get out? And then obviously, the reason we're probably out there is because somebody has noticed something on the inside. And so an investigation, both visual with a moisture meter or with a FLIR thermal camera, will really tell us how that window is performing, if there are any flashing issues at the top and bottom there. Proper installation of the windows. Again, we can't often see how a window is installed during our investigation, but this is an example of how a window should be installed. First, the rough opening is cut, must be prepared. It must have a sloped sill at the bottom of the rough opening. and a water resistant barrier that's shown in number A and B. Then a flexible flashing membrane is applied to the sill, that's shown in D, and then the window is installed, and then the water resistant barrier is lapped over that, and then we flash and seal it up. So if you think about a water droplet coming down that wall, where would you direct it so that it could get in, knowing that it's just gravity fed and we can't go up the wall per se. That's really, I'm putting my head in the space of that water droplet on my inspections. How is that water behaving? Is there a way it could get in? And if we follow the details shown here, everything is properly lapped so that water cannot get in. So it's intuitive. It is somewhat intuitive looking at it here on the screen. But the main point of what I'm showing you is that while it does look easy when you see all the steps laid out in front of you, it's not easy when you do it in the field, and there are 1,000 ways that it can be done incorrectly and is often done incorrectly.